Good morning, Grace and friends. Today we are talking about core values. As our congregation moves toward writing a grace proclamation, each week we are considering key questions. Today's question is, what are our core values as a church? In recent years, organizations of all kinds have been defining what they call their core values. From businesses to nonprofits to churches. For a while, writing mission statements was most important, but these days we go deeper and examine our core values. Core values represent an organization's highest priorities and most deeply held beliefs. They're like the core of an apple at its very center. They speak our heart. They're the cultural cornerstones of an organization. I like to call them animating and directing spiritual and moral values. They bring us life and they guide. What are ours? We might begin with the song we sing at the close of our monthly communion services from Micah 6:8. Pardon me. What does the Lord require of you but to do justice and love mercy and walk humbly with your God? I've seen t-shirts with those words. If we had a Grace t-shirt, that would be a good one. And organizations' core values are usually limited to around 5. What would ours be? In our text from Romans 12 today, Paul is describing the workings of a true church and describes with a set of imperatives what could be called his core values. Genuine love, loving the good and hating what is evil, mutual affection, perseverance in prayer, rejoicing with those who rejoice and weeping with those who weep, befriending the lowly, refusing to take revenge so far as possible, as long as it depends upon you. Live peaceably with all. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Paul sometimes, it is said that sometimes Paul listened little to the teachings of the historical Jesus. These words from Romans 12 reflect closely the Sermon on the Mount. In our call to gathering, we read key scriptures from the Psalms that describe who God is and what God is about. We might call them God's core values. God sets prisoners free. God opens blind eyes. God makes those who are bent low straight. God watches over orphans and widows and strangers or immigrants. God heals broken hearts and binds wounds. And the Psalms talk about who God is, long in mercy and abounding in steadfast love. So we might summarize God's core values: compassion, justice, healing and wholeness, mercy, and steadfast love. To love God is to love God's values. To love God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength is to embody them in our lives and in our life together. When our most recent pastor search committee set out to find a pastor, they developed a set of core values to give to prospective ministers so they would better know who we are and what we are about at Grace. They listed 5. 1, a strong sense of community. 2, a commitment to diversity, including theological, racial, socioeconomic diversity. 3, a mission to meet the needs of people in our community and an increasing awareness of the needs of social justice. 4, a desire for spiritual growth. And 5, an appreciation for worship that enables us to worship God and to listen to God's voice and respond. As I've listened to our 3 weeks of conversation so far, I think many of these core values have been named. What would you think about our developing a set of core values here? Again, we need to narrow them down to around 5, lest we become like the fabled Civil War general who jumped on his horse and rode off in all directions at once. Such core values require of us a kind of courage as we seek to live them. Maya Angelou says that without courage, none of the other 6 virtues, wisdom, justice, temperance, faith, hope, and love, would survive. To live them, we stand by them. We promote them. We use them to set directions and make decisions. It means we choose this path, not that path. We use them to remind ourselves of who we are and what we are about. When we plan our annual budget, we consider them. Jesus said, "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." We keep our promise here to set aside 20% of our annual budget for missions because missions and ministry to others is a core value. Our hands and our feet take the path of our core values. When the prophet Micah was asked to summarize all the 613 commands of God, he came up with the 3 that we sing: do justice, love mercy, walk humbly. When Jesus was asked what was the greatest commandment, he summarized all the teachings of God as these 2: to love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. How would we summarize our most cherished and core values? As someone has said, if you aim at nothing, you generally hit it. Amen.